There are forces in this world that we often fail to see, lurking in the corners of our lives, hiding behind familiar faces, behind the very people who share our blood, our homes, and our histories. We've been taught to trust our family above all else, to hold them close, to believe they want what's best for us. But there are times, if we are honest with ourselves, when we feel the weight of a different presence, a sinister influence that distorts love into control, kindness into manipulation, and care into something far darker than we could have imagined. These forces, these toxic spirits, are not easily recognized. They do not announce themselves with loud proclamations or terrifyingly overt gestures. Instead, they weave themselves into the fabric of everyday family interactions, cloaked in the familiar, often wearing the guise of concern, protection, or even devotion. They act under the false pretense of family, and in doing so they lead us down paths of destruction we would never choose for us. How do we identify such spirits? How do we discern the difference between a genuine attempt at support and the subtle poison of manipulation? These are the questions we must wrestle with, for failing to answer them could lead to ruin. First, let us examine the family member who thrives on control, the one whose love is tied to conditions, always seeking to dominate, always seeking to dictate how you should live, who you should be. This family member loves with strings attached, and though it may appear as though they are merely guiding or caring for you, what they are actually doing is entangling you in a web. They will try to convince you that their way is the only way, that their advice is the only advice worth following, and that your success, your happiness, your very existence depends on their approval. What do we do with such a force? How do we free ourselves? The answer lies in recognizing the suffocating nature of their influence. We must ask ourselves, am I free to make my own decisions, or am I merely a puppet in someone else's story? If we answer honestly, we will see the grip tightening, and we must be willing to step back, to step away, to preserve the autonomy God has given us. Next, we must address the family member who feeds on guilt, the one whose very presence makes us feel that no matter what we do, we are never enough. They twist every action into something selfish, every decision into something shameful. They weave guilt into the smallest of interactions, convincing us that to live is to owe is to suffer, and suffering is the price we must pay for love. This too is a dark force at work. Guilt is a chain, and it is often the most difficult to break, for it holds us in a prison of our own making. But we must ask ourselves, does love require guilt? Is love the burden of suffering, or is it the freedom to be who we are, to be loved for who we are? Only when we confront the poison of guilt can we begin to shed its weight and move toward the freedom of true love, the love that brings peace, not shame. Then there is the family member who thrives on drama, the one who keeps the house in a state of constant turmoil, whose very presence demands conflict. They are never satisfied unless there is chaos to feed on, stirring the pot, playing one family member against another, and manipulating emotions to their own advantage. They thrive on division, because in division they find power. It is easy to fall into the trap of reacting to their provocations, easy to let the drama pull us into its whirlwind. But we must question, why do I allow myself to be drawn into this? We must choose with strength to break free from this cycle, to reject the poison of drama and replace it with calm, with understanding, and with peace. Peace is not the absence of conflict, but the courage to remain unshaken in the face of chaos. And we cannot overlook the family member who denies your reality, the one who dismisses your experiences, your feelings, your very existence as unimportant. Their words twist truth and their disregard for your humanity is a subtle, insidious force that aims to destroy your confidence, your sense of self, and your worth. They seek to erase you, not through violence or overt hostility, but through subtle undermining, through the constant message that you do not matter, that your voice does not count. In the face of this, we must ask, am I seen for who I truly am? Am I valued for the person I am? Or am I being reduced to a shadow of myself? It is vital that we recognize this force and stand firm in the truth of our own worth. We are not invisible, and we are not insignificant. Your reality is your truth, and no one, no family member, has the power to erase that. There are more faces, more forms these toxic spirits can take, but I will pause here, for these are among the most dangerous, the most pervasive. It is important to recognize them because, once recognized, they lose their power over us. We must ask ourselves, what is the true nature of love in my family? Is it about control, manipulation, guilt, or conflict? Or is it about freedom, respect, understanding, and kindness? When these dark forces show themselves, they often come disguised in the form of family. And in doing so, they play on our deepest bonds, the bonds that should unite us, not divide us. But we must not mistake these false expressions of love for what true love is. True love is not oppressive, it is not manipulative, and it is not destructive. It is healing, it is freeing, it is lifting us toward our true selves, the selves that God. We must recognize, confront, and reject the evil spirits that seek to poison our homes. Freedom requires action, the action of setting boundaries, of choosing peace over drama, of valuing ourselves and others for who we truly are, not for the roles others want us to play. Only by doing so can we break free from the chains that seek to keep us sick, stagnant, and far from the life God intended for us. And so, we must ask, what will you choose? Will you allow these toxic forces to bind you, to tear apart your soul? Or will you rise above, armed with the truth, with the strength to break free and heal? Only you can decide. Toxic family members often disguise their controlling behavior as love, concern, or protection. They wrap their demands in the cloak of good intentions, creating an illusion of care while subtly undermining your sense of autonomy. The spirit of control is a dangerous force because it doesn't announce itself as overt manipulation. It begins subtly and slowly, wearing down your confidence and eroding your ability to make independent choices. The controlling family member may tell you that their way is the best way, that they know what's best for you, and that their actions are only in your best interest. These words are often backed by an overwhelming, relentless desire to dictate every aspect of your life, what career path you should take, who you should date, how you should dress. It is a kind of emotional imprisonment disguised as protection. What makes the spirit of control so dangerous is that it cloaks itself in concern. They might say, "I'm just looking out for you," or "You know I only want what's best for you." But what they fail to acknowledge is that true love doesn't come with strings attached. True love does not demand obedience or conformity. It encourages freedom and growth. True care does not seek to keep someone small. It seeks to help them become the fullest version of themselves. The essence of control is manipulation. It isn't just about imposing decisions, but about systematically breaking down your will to the point where you feel incapable of making choices without their approval. Over time, this begins to wear away at your self-confidence, leaving you questioning your own judgment. You might begin to believe that their version of reality is the only correct one, that your desires and aspirations are either secondary or unimportant. Ask yourself, am I free to make my own decisions? Or am I being shaped and molded into someone else's idea of who I should be? If you find yourself constantly seeking approval, feeling guilty for making decisions without consulting them, or being afraid to stand firm in your own beliefs and choices, then the spirit of control has already begun to take root. This manipulation often works through guilt and fear. The controlling family member may use tactics like emotional blackmail or subtle threats. If you don't do this for me, I won't love you anymore. Or, you'll regret it if you don't listen to me. The constant cycle of guilt they impose on you keeps you in a state of dependency, where you believe that your value is directly tied to how well you conform to their expectation. It becomes a vicious loop. The more you give in, the less you feel in control of your own life. Moreover, the spirit of control stifles your independence and creativity. It reduces your capacity for making decisions based on your own convictions, stifling the voice that says, "This is who I am, and this is what I want." Instead, you're left with the voice of someone else that overpowers your own. In doing so, you lose the ability to fully embrace your own journey. Freedom, however, is the antidote to control. Breaking free from this toxic influence involves a conscious, courageous choice to reclaim your power. It means recognizing that you are capable of making decisions and trusting that your instincts, values, and desires are valid. It may mean setting firm boundaries, having difficult conversations, and sometimes distancing yourself from the toxic influence in your life, no matter how painful it may be. True freedom lies in the ability to choose, to walk your own path, to make decisions based on your values, to live your life as an expression of your true self. In relationships where control is present, the journey to healing requires both recognizing this toxic spirit for what it is and taking decisive steps toward emotional and mental independence. It may be uncomfortable and it may feel impossible at first, but the choice to make your own decisions without the weight of manipulation hanging over you is the first step toward regaining your life. The spirit of control seeks to bind you, but you have the power to free yourself, and with that freedom comes peace, clarity, and the joy of living your life authentically, unshackled by someone else's expectations. Guilt is one of the most insidious emotional weapons, often wielded by family members who seek to control, manipulate, or emotionally blackmail you. In the world of family dynamics, guilt is not always a sign of love or concern. In fact, it can be a toxic force that traps you in a cycle of shame, regret, and fear. When guilt becomes a tool for manipulation, it is no longer a healthy emotion. It is a heavy chain that prevents you from living freely and authentically. There is an unsettling reality in families where guilt is used as a weapon. It doesn't come in the form of anger or open conflict, but rather in subtle, passive ways. A controlling family member may say things like, "After everything I've done for you, this is how you repay me?" Or, "I sacrificed so much for you and this is how you treat me." These words, while seemingly innocent, are laden with guilt, designed to make you feel as though you owe something for the love or care they've extended. But this is not love. This is manipulation. The trouble with guilt is that it often forces us to look inward and question our worth. It shifts the focus from what is healthy, necessary, and just to a distorted sense of obligation. Instead of recognizing our right to make our own choices, guilt convinces us that every decision must be justified by others' expectations. We start living our lives not according to what we need or desire, but based on what others demand from us. And this is where the emotional bondage begins. Ask yourself, does love require me to feel constantly guilty? Does it demand that I carry the weight of someone else's expectations? Or is love meant to set me free from shame and burden? Real love doesn't impose unnecessary weight on your shoulders. True love doesn't require guilt to flourish. It frees you to be who you truly are, without the fear of disappointing others. The family member who uses guilt will often make you feel like you're responsible for their happiness, well-being, or emotional state. This creates a false sense of duty that binds you, making you feel as though you are trapped in an endless cycle of emotional debt. This is the root of emotional blackmail, making you feel that you must constantly give, sacrifice, and perform in order to earn their love or approval. The result is a constant state of anxiety, as you never feel free to live your own life without the crushing weight of guilt. The reason guilt is so effective as a tool of manipulation is because it preys on the deeply embedded belief that family is everything. That family is supposed to be supportive, loving, and nurturing. But when love is conditional, it becomes toxic. True love does not demand sacrifice at the expense of your own well-being. It does not require that you put yourself last, abandon your own needs, or continually self-punish for the sake of others. Genuine love affirms you and supports your freedom, not your enslavement. To break free from the grip of guilt, we must first recognize it for what it is: a manipulative tactic that prevents us from living authentically. Guilt thrives in the absence of clear boundaries, where others' needs and desires are allowed to overshadow your own. The first step toward freedom is setting healthy emotional boundaries, deciding that your worth is not tied to the guilt others try to impose on you. It is important to understand that guilt is not an inherent part of love. If you are being made to feel guilty for pursuing your own path, for making decisions that are best for you, or for standing up for yourself, then that is not love. True love celebrates your independence and growth. It does not bind you with shame and constant remorse. In breaking free from guilt, we must reclaim our autonomy. We must learn to recognize when guilt is being used to manipulate our emotions, and when we spot it, make the decision to reject it. Love does not require you to carry the weight of other people's burdens. It is not your responsibility to fix, save, or satisfy everyone else's needs at the cost of your own emotional and mental health. The process of breaking free from guilt requires self-awareness, strength, and courage. It is a long journey, often painful, because the bonds of guilt have been woven into the very fabric of family relationships. But in rejecting guilt, we set ourselves free to experience the fullness of life that God intends for us. We begin to live authentically, without the constant fear of disappointing others, and we create space for truth. The key question to ask yourself is this: is my love for myself and my love for others being dictated by guilt and obligation, or is it grounded in freedom, peace, and unconditional acceptance? When we answer this truthfully, we find the path to liberation, where guilt no longer holds sway over us, and we are free to live and love with clarity and grace. We've all encountered that one family member whose very presence seems to stir up conflict and tension. Their life seems to revolve around drama, and their emotional storms ripple outward, pulling everyone around them into the chaos. They thrive on conflict, sowing division wherever they go, often leaving destruction in their wake. This is the family member who feeds on turmoil, and it can be all too easy to get caught in the whirlwind of their emotional upheaval. But to allow yourself to be swept up in their chaos is to relinquish your own peace of mind and control. Family dynamics are complex, and we've been taught to believe that we should always be there for our loved ones, to help them navigate their emotional struggles. However, there is a critical distinction between offering support and getting consumed by someone else's need for constant drama. The family member who thrives on conflict will subtly, or not so subtly, pull you into their world, demanding your emotional energy, your attention, and your involvement in their endless cycle of arguments, disputes, and problems. What makes this so dangerous is that drama is like a drug. It can be enticing at first, as it often provides an emotional rush. Whether it's the intensity of the fight, the adrenaline of the conflict, or the drama of unresolved tension. But what begins as a momentary escape can quickly spiral into something far more destructive. The emotional toll of living in this perpetual state of turmoil is exhausting and draining. It leaves you mentally and emotionally depleted, unable to focus on your own life, your own needs, or your own happiness. The question you must ask yourself is, why am I allowing myself to be drawn into this? Why am I letting someone else's conflict dictate my emotional state? The reality is that when we get drawn into the drama, we give away our power. We allow someone else's emotional instability to overshadow our own inner peace. This kind of relationship dynamic thrives on manipulation and emotional control. The drama maker uses tactics like guilt, anger, or subtle manipulation to make you feel responsible for their emotions, making you believe that you have to fix their situation or participate in their constant turmoil. But the truth is, you don't. The first step in escaping the drama is recognizing that you have a choice. You do not have to be a participant in their emotional chaos. You are not obligated to feed into their narrative. In fact, continuing to engage in their drama only strengthens their hold over you, keeping you trapped in a cycle of emotional exhaustion and conflict. Choosing peace is not about avoiding difficult situations or ignoring the problems of your loved ones, but about recognizing when the environment is no longer healthy for you. It is about setting boundaries, knowing when to step back and protect your emotional and mental well-being. Reject the chaos that they bring into your life. This may mean stepping away from conversations that are clearly headed toward conflict, or refusing to engage in arguments that are meant to escalate. Choosing peace means refusing to allow someone else's storm to destroy your calm. It means recognizing that their conflict is theirs to resolve, and while you may offer support in healthy, constructive ways, you do not need to be pulled into the emotional turmoil that they are creating. To reject the drama is to reclaim your inner peace. You must stop allowing others to dictate your emotional state and instead begin to cultivate an environment of calm and clarity within yourself. Ask yourself, what is more important, getting caught up in this conflict or maintaining my peace? The moment you make peace your priority, you begin to see through the distractions and manipulation that drama brings, and you regain control over your emotional and mental space. In some cases, rejecting drama may also mean distancing yourself from toxic relationships or setting firm boundaries with family members who continually seek to draw you into their emotional chaos. It's important to remember that setting boundaries is not a rejection of love. It is a necessary act of self-care. By choosing peace over conflict, you are not abandoning your loved ones. You are choosing to protect your own well-being so that you can be a healthier, more grounded person for them when it truly matters. You may even find that by choosing peace, you encourage others to do the same, leading to more constructive and harmonious relationships overall. In the end, the choice is yours. You can either remain a participant in the cycle of conflict, allowing it to drain your energy, or you can choose to walk away, to set boundaries and to reject the chaos that no longer serves you. Choosing peace is a conscious decision, a decision to no longer be controlled by someone else's emotional storms. It's about creating space for tranquility, clarity, and joy in your life, free from the constant weight of unnecessary drama. Have you ever felt like your thoughts, feelings, or experiences were dismissed by a family member? That no matter what you said or how you felt, it didn't matter to them? Some toxic family members have an uncanny ability to invalidate your reality, making you question your own worth and perceptions. They do this subtly, often with a dismissive attitude that chips away at your self-esteem, leaving you feeling unseen, unheard, and unimportant. This type of behavior is toxic and insidious because it slowly erodes your sense of self-worth until you begin to believe that your reality, doesn't matter. When someone dismisses your feelings, it's not simply an expression of disagreement or a difference of opinion. It's a denial of your very existence as an individual with unique thoughts, emotions, and experiences. These family members may belittle your concerns, say things like, "You're overreacting," or "You're too sensitive." They may ignore your experiences or try to rewrite your history, making you feel like you're the problem for feeling the way you do. This dismissal is not just hurtful, it's damaging. It diminishes your sense of worth, making you feel invisible and unworthy of love, respect, and understanding. The key to surviving this toxic dynamic is recognizing your own value. Am I truly seen and valued for who I am? Or am I being minimized and erased? Your emotions, experiences, and perspective are valid, and you have the right to exist as you are without being invalidated by others. Your truth matters, and no one, especially not a toxic family member, has the right to strip that away from you. When you are constantly made to feel small, it can cause a deep internal conflict. The more you accept others' dismissive behavior, the more you may start to question your own worth. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking, maybe I am too sensitive. Maybe I'm wrong. But this is a lie, a manipulation designed to make you doubt yourself. In reality, your emotions are yours to feel and experience, and they are not subject to anyone else's. One of the most powerful steps in reclaiming your sense of self-worth is setting firm boundaries with those who dismiss your feelings. This doesn't mean becoming hostile or confrontational, but it does mean being clear and assertive about what you will and will not tolerate. When a family member invalidates your feelings, you can calmly say, "I need you to listen and respect my feelings, even if you don't understand them." Boundaries are essential because they help protect your emotional well-being. When you stand firm in your reality, you refuse to let others define your worth. You create space for yourself to be heard, understood, and valued, not because someone else says so, but because you know your truth. You have the right to feel, to express, and to be who you truly are, without the constant pressure to conform to someone else's idea of who you should be. It's also important to recognize that the dismissive behavior of others often speaks more about them than it does about you. People who feel the need to invalidate others are often struggling with their own insecurities, fears, and unmet needs. They may not know how to cope with their emotions, so they lash out at others to make themselves feel better. This doesn't excuse their behavior, but it helps you understand that their dismissiveness is not a reflection of your worth. It's a reflection of their inability to connect with your reality. By understanding this, you can begin to detach emotionally from their attempts to invalidate you. The key to reclaiming your self-worth is self-affirmation. Remind yourself daily that you are seen, you are valued, and your feelings are valid. Whether it's through journaling, prayer, or meditation, take time to reaffirm your value and acknowledge the truth of your experience. You do not need anyone's permission to be who you are. Trust in your instincts. Honor your feelings and surround yourself with people who truly see and respect you for who you are. In the face of dismissal, choose to stand firm in your reality. Don't let others' opinions or rejection dictate your worth. It may take time to heal from the wounds of invalidation, but with time, patience, and self-compassion, you can begin to rebuild your sense of self. Remember that you are enough just as you are, and no one has the power to erase that truth. You are worthy of respect, love, and understanding, and you deserve to be seen and heard in every relationship you have, especially with family. True love within a family should be a source of strength, peace, and growth. It should empower you to be your authentic self, provide comfort in times of distress, and offer unconditional support when you need it most. Yet not all love in family relationships reflects this ideal. Sometimes the love we receive is laced with control, guilt, and manipulation, creating a toxic environment that stifles our ability to grow and thrive. True love is liberating. False love is a chain that keeps you bound to suffering. When toxic influences like guilt, manipulation, or control infiltrate relationships, they distort the very essence of love. They masquerade as care and concern, but they are nothing more than a trap, a false bondage that keeps you tethered to a cycle of emotional turmoil. In these relationships, love is conditional, dependent on meeting someone else's expectations or fulfilling their desires. This kind of love diminishes your sense of self-worth, making you believe that your value is tied to how much you can sacrifice, how well you can conform, or how much you can give in order to please others. In a healthy relationship, love lifts you up. It inspires you to be the best version of yourself without the fear of judgment or rejection. True love celebrates your independence, recognizing that both parties are individuals with their own needs, desires, and goals. It's a love that encourages your growth, your freedom, and your well-being. It is not about keeping you small, controlled, or bound to someone else's emotional. Yet, the truth is that we often find ourselves trapped in relationships that we believe are built on love, but in reality, they are based on fear, manipulation, or guilt. Ask yourself, is the love I am receiving lifting me up, or is it trapping me in a cycle of suffering and darkness? When love feels like a burden, when it feels like you are constantly walking on eggshells to avoid conflict or emotional fallout, it's time to step back and assess the nature of the relationship. Toxic love often masquerades as concern. I only do this because I care about you, or you owe me for everything I've done for you. These statements are not expressions of love. They are tools of control, subtly coercing you into a place where you feel guilty for asserting your own needs and boundaries. True love, however, doesn't demand sacrifices at the expense of your emotional, mental, or physical health. True love encourages you to thrive. It does not make you feel as though you must give up your independence, your individuality, or your freedom to keep the peace. In fact, it supports your individuality, empowering you to grow in your own unique path, while still remaining connected to others in a healthy, supportive way. Choosing true love means recognizing when a relationship has crossed the line from support and care to control and manipulation. True love does not hold you captive in a cycle of guilt or fear. It invites you to be free. Free to make your own decisions, to set your own boundaries, and to live a life that is true to who you are. False love, on the other hand, wants to maintain control. It wants you to stay within the confines of someone else's comfort zone, always at their mercy, always bending to their will, always sacrificing your own peace for the sake of keeping them happy. When toxic behaviors like guilt-tripping, manipulation, or controlling behavior arise, you must ask yourself, is this love? Does it feel like love, or does it feel like something else? True love will never demand your silence, your compliance, or your suffering. It will never ask you to deny your own truth in order to please someone else. Instead, it will empower you to stand firm in your identity, your worth. The decision to choose true love over false bondage requires immense courage. It requires you to recognize that you have the right to be loved freely, without conditions, without manipulation, and without control. It also means being willing to confront uncomfortable truths about relationships that may no longer serve your well-being. Choosing true love often means letting go of relationships that are based on toxic patterns, even when those relationships are family. This does not mean abandoning love. Rather, it means shifting the paradigm of what love should look like. True love is freeing, not binding. It nurtures, encourages, and uplifts. False love traps, controls, and manipulates. You deserve a love that respects your autonomy, that acknowledges your worth, and that helps you grow into the person you are meant to be.